Introduction. I like the neighbor brother who is 8 years older than me, Lu Yubai. From the age of 16 to 24, for 8 years, I was like a tireless warrior, charging again and failing miserably again and again. For his birthday, I spent a month's salary to buy him cufflinks that he casually placed in the hallway. He had a bad stomach, so I got up at 5 o'clock to make porridge, but he turned around and gave it to the stray dogs downstairs. After I confessed for the 108th time and was dismissed by him again with "You're still young," I finally decided not to play anymore. I blocked all his contact information, had dinner, and watched movies with my sunny and handsome male classmate, and laughed happier than anyone else. Until that day, he blocked me in the corridor. His eyes were scarlet, and his voice was hoarse. "Sun Yan, do you like him so much?" I felt happy watching him lose control. "Old fox, you finally can't pretend anymore." Chapter 1. This is the 08th time I confessed to Lu Yubai. The location was chosen in the square downstairs of his company. It was 8 o'clock in the evening when he was finishing an important meeting. I was holding a bouquet of tacky red roses and wearing a red dress that he would probably never notice, standing in the crowd like a lone soldier waiting for a view. People were coming and going around me, and curious eyes were shining on me like searchlights. A little awkward, but not much. After all, in the past 8 years, my face has been tempered by being rejected again, and it has become as good as a city wall. At 8 o'clock sharp, the glass revolving door of the office building was pushed open. Lu Yubai walked in the front, wearing a well-tailored haute couture suit that made him tall, with broad shoulders and long legs. Behind him were a group of subordinates in suits and ties, all of whom were silent. His face was expressionless, and there was a layer of coldness between his brows and eyes. His whole figure was like a walking iceberg, and everywhere he went, the air became a bit colder. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Lu Yuji." Before I could say "brother," his assistant Zhang Tezu rushed up and stopped in front of me with a professional fake smile on his face. "Ms. Su, Mr. Lu is very busy today. Look." I bypassed him and looked directly into Lu Yubai's bottomless eyes. "Lu Yubai, I like you. Let's be together." In one sentence, I said it clearly and loudly, even with a hint of tragedy. Lu Yubai stopped. The senior management team behind him also stopped and looked at me with more than a dozen pairs of eyes, with different expressions ranging from surprise to sympathy, but more of amusement at watching a good show. Lu Yubai's eyes stayed on me for 3 seconds. There are no waves, no ups and downs, like looking at a stranger or trouble. His thin lips parted slightly, and the words he spat out were as cold and polite as ever. "Sun Yan, stop making trouble. You're still young, so you should focus on study and work." Here it is again. "You're still young." When I was 16, he said I was still young. When I reached adulthood at the age of 18, he said I was still young. After graduating from college at the age of 22, he still said that I was still young. Now I am 24 years old, have a stable job, and support myself, but he says I am still the little brat who needs to study hard. I looked at him and suddenly felt a little funny. At the position of my heart, the hot passion that had been occupied for 8 years seemed to be finally extinguished by his cold water that would never change at this moment. I twitched the corners of my mouth, and the smile must have been uglier than crying. "Lu Yubai, I'm 24, not 14. In your eyes, do I have to be 84 to be considered a grown-up?" He frowned slightly. This was one of the few mood swings of his that I could capture. It seemed that he was dissatisfied with me for making him stand down in front of everyone, or maybe he was just impatient. "Zhang Qian." He didn't look at me anymore, but told his assistant coldly, "Send Miss Su home." After saying that, he walked around me and walked straight to the black Bentley parked on the side of the road, never looking back. The car door slammed shut, cutting off my sight. The black car, like a silent giant, slid silently into the traffic and quickly disappeared. I stood there, the bouquet of roses in my hand heavy. The buzz around me was like countless fine needles piercing my ears. It's that girl again, so perseverant. What's the use? Mr. Lu doesn't even look at her. That's right, a wealthy family pays attention to being well-matched. How could a little girl? Assistant Zhang walked up to me, looking embarrassed. "Miss Su, can I take you back?" I lowered my head and looked at the delicate roses in my arms. Then I made a decision that surprised even myself. I turned around, walked to the trash can next to the square, and let go. The bouquet of roses that I had chosen after going to 3 flower shops fell precisely into the cold iron box in a parabola. The red is so dazzling. Assistant Zhang was shocked. "Miss Su, what are you?" I clapped my hands, as if shaking off something dirty. I turned my head and smiled at him. This time the smile was relaxed and sincere. "Assistant Zhang, please tell Lu Yubai. Just say that from today on, Sun Yan will no longer pursue him. I wish him to find a well-matched daughter from a rich family as soon as possible and have a happy marriage for 100 years without having any descendants." After saying the last 4 words, my mood suddenly brightened. Before Assistant Zhang could react, I turned around and walked away with fast and big steps, making the red dress look like a tiger. Goodbye, Lu Yubai. Goodbye, 8 years of my silly, ridiculous one-man show. From today on, my aunt will no longer serve you. Chapter 2. When I got home, the first thing I did was to blacklist all of Lu Yubai's contact information, from WeChat to phone numbers. After doing all this, I felt like all the shackles on my body had been removed. In order to celebrate my rebirth, I ordered an extra large portion of spicy crayfish paired with ice-cold beer and sat on the carpet in the living room alone, enjoying the meal. The phone screen lit up and it was a WeChat message from my mother. "Nyen Nyen, are you looking for your brother Yubai again?" I replied, "Yeah." "How's it going? Is there any progress?" "We're divided," I said concisely. There was silence for a full minute and then a phone call came directly. "Breaked up? What kind of breakup? Did you break up after you were together?" My mother's voice was so loud that it could lift the roof. I put my phone away and peeled the crayfish calmly. "We have never been together, but I unilaterally declare that our relationship ends here." "Have you given up?" "Yeah, very dead." There was another moment of silence on the other end of the phone, and then there was a long sigh. "That's fine. That kid. Well, it's just too cold. Don't be sad. We're so good at Nyen Nyen. We can't find any kind of boy." I smiled and said, "Don't worry, Mom. I'm not sad, I'm happy." After hanging up the phone, I opened WeChat Moments and started editing an extremely important update in my life. I found a sunset photo I had taken earlier. The scenery was beautiful, but also very lonely. Caption: 8 years. It's like having a long, long dream. Now I woke up from the dream. Thank you, and let me go. From then on, one parted and the other parted. Each was happy. After writing, I didn't set the grouping and clicked send directly. I know that Lu Yubai himself probably cannot see this circle of friends, but his conscientious assistant, as well as our mutual relatives and friends, will definitely see it. I want everyone to know that I, Su Nyen, gave up. Give up completely and completely. After posting to Moments, I turned off my phone and concentrated on dealing with my crayfish. After having had enough wine and food, I lay on the bed feeling more relaxed than ever before. There is no longer the anxiety of how will I meet Lu Yubai tomorrow, and no more frustration of why didn't he reply to my message today. I even feel that even the air is a lot fresher. Just when I was about to fall asleep, there was a beeping sound from the combination lock on the opposite door. I know it's Lu Yubai who's back. The doors of our two houses are facing each other, and the sound insulation effect is poor. If there is any movement on his side, I can hear it clearly. In the past, when I heard this voice, I would immediately jump out of bed and listen to his every move. Listening to the sound of him changing his shoes, listening to the sound of him opening the refrigerator to get water, you can even imagine whether he is frowning or expressionless at the moment. But today, I just turned over and covered my head with the quilt. None of my business. The next day was Saturday, and I slept until I woke up naturally. Open the curtains, the sun is shining brightly. It is a good weather for starting a new life. I hummed a song, made myself a hearty brunch, and then received a call from my cousin Lindsay. "Nyen Nyen, what do you mean by your circle of friends? Have you really given up?" Lindsay's voice was full of gossip. Lindsay is my aunt's son. He is studying computer science at University A, the same school as me. He is tall and handsome, and he is the most important part of my escape plan. I smiled mysteriously. "What do you think?" "It's not like your style. Didn't you claim to melt Lu Yubai's iceberg?" "I've been covering myself for 8 years, and I'm almost frozen into a popsicle. If I continue to cover myself, my life will be gone." I took a sip of milk and said slowly, "So, I decided to change my life. How to survive. For example, let's talk about a sweet, two-way relationship." I paused and then changed the topic. "Brother, please do me a favor." Lindsay on the other end of the phone immediately became alert. "Su Nyen, let me tell you, don't use me as a shield. My girlfriend will beat me to death." "What are you thinking about? I'll let you cooperate with me in a few scenes to stimulate a certain old man who doesn't know what to do. When it's done, I'll give you your favorite limited edition gaming keyboard." Lindsay was silent for 3 seconds. "Make a deal. Send me the address and I'll go to your school to find you in the afternoon. You have the final say on how the play will be performed." After hanging up the phone, the smile on my lips became deeper and deeper. "Lu Yubai, the game has just begun. Don't you think I'm still young? Then I will find a peer of the same age and have a good relationship with you." Chapter 3. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I changed into a youthful sweatshirt and jeans, carried a backpack, and appeared at the gate of University A on time. Lindsay was already waiting there. He was a tall man of 1.85 meters, wearing a white t-shirt and basketball pants, and stood out in the crowd. He saw me, smiled, and waved. "It's okay, Nyen Nyen. I haven't seen you for a few days, and I feel like your whole body is shining." I raised my eyebrows proudly. Of course, after getting rid of the pain of love, I am Nyo Hulu Su Nyen. Lin Tulmanze was very wise and immediately answered, "Now Nyo Hulu Nyen, where should we go on a date today?" He deliberately emphasized the word date very strongly. I nodded with satisfaction and patted his shoulder. "You can teach me." We walked side by side on the campus tree-lined avenue, chatting every now and then. I took out my phone and asked Lindsay to take some photos for me. In the photo, I am smiling brightly, and the teaching building behind me and the students coming and going are full of youthful atmosphere. I chose the best-looking one and posted it on WeChat Moments. Caption: Going back to school, I still feel that the air in the university is the sweetest. No one was mentioned, but those who understand the composition of the photo will naturally understand. This is his perspective. We first went to the library and stayed for a while. I pretended to flip through professional books, while Lindsay played games on the side. Then, we went to a dessert shop near the school and ordered a strawberry milfie and 2 drinks. I still take photos and check in. This time I took a picture of the dessert on the table, 2 forks, 2 drinks, everything is self-explanatory. Caption, sweet. 1 word is enough to arouse endless imagination. After doing all this, I put down my phone with great satisfaction and started enjoying the dessert. Nyen Nyen, can Liu Yubai see what you're doing? Didn't you block him? Lindsay asked while eating the cake. He can't see it himself. I slowly cut off a small piece of cake with a fork, but Special Assistant Zhang can see it, my mother can see it, and Annie Wang and Auntie Li can see it. People's words are scary, do you understand? When these words reach his ears, the effect will be better than if he sees it with his own eyes. Lindsay gave me a thumbs up. Hi, really hi. In the evening, Lindsay dutifully sent me home. When we got downstairs to the community, we deliberately lingered for a while. I counted the time. At this point, it was almost time for Liu Yubai to go home from get-off work. Sure enough, a familiar black Bentley slowly drove into the parking lot. The car lights swept across and landed on both of us accurately. I turned my back to the direction of the car, pretended not to see it, and continued talking and laughing with Lindsay. Brother, thank you for today. I'll treat you to dinner another day. Why are you being polite to me? Lindsay also entered the role. His voice was so gentle that he could squeeze out water. Hurry up, it's cold at night. As he spoke, he naturally helped me straighten my hair that was messed up by the wind. I felt the car stop. The car door did not open immediately, and the people in the car did not get out. A cold, penetrating line of sight, like an X-ray, shot back and forth on us. The villain in me has started to set off fireworks, but on the surface he remains calm. I waved to Lindsay. Then I'll go up. Please be careful on the way. Good. I turned around and went upstairs without even looking in the direction of the Bentley. When I walked into the unit door, I immediately stood behind the door and listened to what was going on outside. I heard Lindsay's footsteps leaving. Then, there was a loud bang as the car door was slammed shut. That voice was filled with suppressed anger that was about to explode. I covered my mouth and laughed silently. Liu Yubai, you're in a hurry. You finally got anxious. Chapter 4. When I got home, I took a shower, put on a mask happily, and prepared to watch TV for a while. Just as I lay down on the sofa, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. The person standing at the door almost made me laugh out loud as I put the mask on my face. It's Liu Yubai. He changed out of his cold suit and wore a black casual sweatshirt and trousers, a little less sharp in the mall and a little more lazy at home. But his face was still like an iceberg. Even colder than usual, his eyebrows were frowned tightly, his thin lips were pressed into a straight line, and his jawline was tense. The whole person exudes an aura of I'm unhappy. I slowly peeled off the mask, wiped my face clean, and then opened the door. I leaned against the door frame and looked at him lazily. Mr. Liu, is something wrong? I deliberately used the most distant title. His eyes fell on my face that was still moist after taking a shower, and his eyes darkened. There's no soy sauce at home, he said, his voice a little hoarse. I almost laughed out loud. Borrow soy sauce? Liu Yubai, you are already a technological upstart in the 21st century, but you still use such an old-fashioned way of picking up conversations? In your multi-million-dollar mansion, the kitchen alone is bigger than my whole house. Is there not a bottle of soy sauce? I complained in my mind, but had a polite fake smile on my face. Oh, really? What a coincidence. I don't cook much, and I don't have any at home. I told lies with my eyes open. In fact, the spices in my kitchen are more comprehensive than those in the supermarket. This is all thanks to him. In the past, in order to cook for him, I almost forced myself to become a Chinese little master. Liu Yubai obviously didn't expect that I would refuse so simply. He choked and stood at the door without moving. The atmosphere was a little awkward for a while. I didn't invite him in, so I just leaned against the door frame and looked at him leisurely. Let's see what other reasons he can come up with next. He was silent for a few seconds, looking away from my face and falling on the living room behind me. Then he spoke again. What's the password for your Wi-Fi? My internet connection is down. I really can't help it anymore. Liu Yubai, the founder of Tangdang Yubai Technology and an internet giant, you told me that your home is offline? Is your home directly connected to the satellite line? A disconnection of the internet could happen at my house or at his house. It is simply a fantasy. I cleared my throat, stifling a laugh. I'm sorry, Mr. Liu. My Wi-Fi signal is not very good, and it often gets stuck. If you need it urgently, you can go to the convenience store downstairs. They have free internet. I refused again, and he thoughtfully pointed out a clear path for him. Liu Yubai's face turned completely dark. His deep eyes stared at me, filled with emotions I couldn't understand. There was anger, confusion, and a little hurt. I must have read it wrong. How could the aloof Mr. Liu have such emotions? Sun Yan. He called me by name and surname, his voice deeper than before. Do you have to talk to me like this? I blinked, looking innocent. What's wrong with me? I'm communicating with you normally. You. He seemed to want to say something, but when the words reached his lips, he swallowed them back. In the end, he just looked at me deeply, his eyes as complex as a difficult math problem. Then, without saying anything, he turned around and went back to his home. The sound of the door closing was still loud. I leaned against the door and finally couldn't help it, laughing so hard that my whole body was shaking. Luyabai, you too have today. You used to be indifferent to me, but now it's my turn to make you unable to reach your heights. This feeling can only be expressed in one word. Cool. Chapter 5. In the next few days, I thoroughly implemented the purpose of New Life. He and Lindsay chatted passionately on WeChat every day, and the content was extremely ambiguous. Baby, what are you doing? Miss you. The skirt I wore to class today is so beautiful. Of course, these are sent to specific people. I pulled all the relatives and elders of our two families into a group, euphemistically calling it a family that loves each other. Then, I sent the chat history between me and Lindsay to the group in an accidentally slippery way. The group immediately went crazy. My mother was the first to jump out. Nian, who is this? Are you in love? My aunt, Lindsay's biological mother, followed closely. Oh, isn't this RSA? You too. It is followed by a series of meaningful ellipses. I pretended to be panicked and quickly retracted the message. Then he posted, I sent it to the wrong person. Don't get me wrong. There are no 300 tales of silver here, so I want to cover it up. Now everyone knows that Lindsay and I have a situation. I can even imagine that my mother and my aunt would be on the phone the next second and start exchanging intelligence. And this information will eventually reach the ears of the opposite door, Lu Yubai's mother, Aunt Wong, through my mother's mouth. Then, Aunt Wong passed it on to her precious son. I have a very good grasp of this transmission chain. In addition to online interactions, I was also left behind in offline performances. On the weekend, I made an appointment with Lindsay to watch a movie. I specially chose a romance movie and posted 2 movie tickets on my circle of friends. Caption, watching a romantic movie with the person you like is perfect. In the corner of the photo, a section of a boy's sleeve was accidentally exposed. I just bought that dress with Lindsay a few days ago. Less than a minute after the post was posted on Moments, my phone rang. It's an unknown number. I picked up and heard a familiar, cold voice from the other side. Where? It's Lu Yubai. He actually called me from an unknown number. It seems that being blocked made him very unhappy. I deliberately pretended not to recognize his voice and asked lazily, Who are you? The other end of the phone was silent for a second, and then repeated through gritted teeth, I'm Lu Yubai. Where are you? Oh, Mr. Lu, I suddenly realized. Do you have a problem with me? I'm busy. What are you busy with? There was a hint of unnoticeable nervousness in his voice. Watching a movie, I said briskly, with my boyfriend. I said the word boyfriend clearly and sweetly. I can almost imagine Lu Yubai's face suddenly stiffening on the other end of the phone. Sure enough, he fell silent. There was a long silence, so long that I thought he had hung up the phone. Just when I was about to take off the phone, his voice sounded again, hoarse and more dangerous than before. Sun Yan, tell me again, who are you with? My boyfriend. I asked knowingly, Mr. Lu, haven't you always wanted me to find someone of my own age and have a good relationship? Now that I have found it, you should be happy for me. He seemed to want to retort, but couldn't say a word. Yeah, what can he say? Isn't all this what he hoped for? I didn't give him a chance to continue talking and said directly, Okay, Mr. Lu, I won't talk to you anymore. The movie is about to start. Bye. After saying that, I hung up the phone neatly and turned off the phone. The world is quiet. I leaned back on the soft seats in the cinema, feeling so good that I wanted to hum a song. Lindsay, who was beside him, came over and asked in a low voice, Lu Yubai's phone number? I nodded. How did he react? I'm probably so angry that I want to smash my phone. I gloated. Lindsay looked at me with admiration. Yan, you are really a genius. I bet that within 3 days, Lu Yubai will definitely have a showdown with you. I smiled mysteriously. 3 days? It's too long. I bet tonight. Because I know that there's still a good show waiting for him tonight. Chapter 6. The movie ended. It was almost 10 o'clock. Lindsay and I came out of the cinema. The evening breeze was slightly cool and felt very comfortable on our bodies. Brother, the play is over. You can go back to spend time with your girlfriend. I stretched and said to him, You're going to drive me away now? You don't need me to take you home and do all the tricks? Lindsay raised his eyebrows. No need. Today's stimulation is enough for him to drink a pot. I waved my hand. Go back quickly. Don't keep your guy waiting. Lindsay smiled and ruffled my hair. Okay, then be careful. Call me anytime if you have anything. I know, long-winded. After seeing Lindsay off, I walked slowly home alone. When I walked downstairs in the community, I subconsciously raised my head and glanced in the direction of Lu Yu and Bai's house. The lights in his house were on, and there was a red that flickered on and off on the balcony. He is smoking. I have known him for so many years, and I know that he only smokes when he is extremely upset. It seems that the effect of tonight's drama is outstanding. I suppressed the smile on my lips, pretended not to see anything, and walked into the unit building calmly. The elevator stopped on the first floor, and the door opened. The people standing inside made my breath hitch. It's Lu Yubai. He didn't know how long he had been waiting here. He had a strong smell of tobacco mixed with his usual cold cedar scent, forming a very aggressive scent. When he saw me, he didn't say anything, but his dark eyes were like two bottomless ancient wells, staring straight at me. My heart skipped a beat. This look is so scary. It was like he was going to eat me alive. I calmed down, walked into the elevator as if nothing had happened, stood in the corner farthest from him, and pressed the number of my floor. The elevator door slowly closed, and the atmosphere in the small space was so oppressive that it made people breathless. I could feel that his eyes were always glued to me, hot and sharp. I lowered my head and pretended to play with my phone, but my palms started to sweat. Misstep. I didn't expect that he would just block me in the elevator. This is not the same script as I imagined. The elevator dinged and reached the floor. As if I had been granted amnesty, I rushed out almost immediately. But as soon as I took a step, someone grabbed my wrist from behind. The force was so strong that it hurt me. I turned around and met Liu Yubai's scarlet eyes. Su Nian. When he spoke, his voice was hoarse, like sandpaper scratching a rough wall. Are you that impatient? I was stunned when he asked. What? Find someone to replace me. Every word he spoke seemed to be squeezed out from between his teeth. I shook my hand, but instead of letting go, he held it tighter. Liu Yubai, why are you crazy? I was a little annoyed. You asked me to stop pestering you. You asked me to find someone else. Now that I did what you asked, what do you mean? I asked you to look for it, and you really looked for it? He suddenly growled, and the veins on his forehead twitched. He suddenly pulled me towards him, and the distance between us instantly shortened to almost zero. I could clearly smell the strong smell of smoke on his body and see the madness in his eyes that almost swallowed me up. Who is that man? He stared at me and asked word by word. What's so good about him? Treat you better than me? I was confused by his sudden question. Treat me better than you? Have you been nice to me? Nothing but rejection. Nothing but rejection. The anger in my heart also rose, and I sneered. He is better than you in every way. He is young, handsome, and sunny. He will eat with me, watch movies with me, and say goodnight to me. The most important thing is, I raised my head, looked directly into his eyes, and deliberately stabbed him with the most hurtful words. He likes me, and you don't. Who says I don't? He stopped abruptly mid-sentence. He looked at me with a flash of panic in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by deeper anger. He didn't say anything, but suddenly lowered his head and kissed her fiercely. Chapter 7. This kiss was full of punishment and plunder. There was no tenderness at all, as if he wanted to vent all the unwillingness, anger, and jealousy he had accumulated these days. His lips were cold, with a strong smell of tobacco, and they brushed against my lips roughly. There was a boom in my mind, and everything went blank. I struggled, trying to push him away, but he was surprisingly strong. One arm clamped around my waist like an iron pincer, and the other hand clasped the back of my head, leaving me with nowhere to escape. I was held firmly in his arms and forced to endure the stormy kiss. His kiss became deeper and deeper, becoming more and more out of control. The punishment from the beginning gradually changed. Becoming hot, becoming eager, even with a hint of grievance. I gradually stopped struggling and allowed him to pry open my teeth and conquer the city. In a corner that no one knew about, the corners of my mouth quietly turned upward in a proud arc. Liu Yubai, old fox, let you pretend. Now finally stop pretending. I don't know how long it took until I thought I was about to suffocate before he finally let go of me. He was breathing heavily and pressed his forehead against mine. Their breaths were intertwined, hot and rapid. His eyes, which were always covered with ice, were as bright as a fire at this moment, astonishingly bright. Su Nian, his voice was hoarse. No. What's wrong? I asked knowingly, with a soft nasal sound in my voice due to lack of oxygen. You are not allowed to watch movies with other men. Don't accept gifts from other men. Don't let anyone touch you. He said a long list in one breath, and he was so overbearing and unreasonable. As I listened, I felt happy, but my face looked aggrieved and confused. Why? Liu Yubai, why do you care about me? Who are you to me? I asked 3 questions in a row, and each sentence was heartbreaking. He was speechless by my question, and just stared at me with his fiery eyes as if he wanted to imprint my whole body into his pupils. He paused, his Adam's apple rolling up and down, as if he was making a difficult decision. Just because I like you. Finally. The words I had been waiting for 8 years finally came out of his mouth. Although it was in this situation where he was crazy unilaterally. Although full of unwillingness and coercion. But I heard it anyway. The villain in me has already started beating gongs and drums and setting off firecrackers to celebrate. But on my face, I still had that I don't believe it and you lied to me expression. I pushed him away, took a step back, and distanced myself from him. Like me? I sneered. Mr. Liu, your joke is not funny at all. You like me and will reject me for 8 years? You like me and you will throw away the things I gave you? You like me enough to give the porridge I cooked all morning to stray dogs? Every time I said something, his face turned paler. By the end, the color on his handsome face had faded. I didn't, he defended eagerly. I didn't throw away your things. Really? I raised my eyebrows with a look of disbelief. Then tell me, where's the blue scarf that I gave you as a birthday gift when I was a senior in high school? I knitted that scarf for a whole month and had many holes in my hands. On the day it was given to him, he just said, "Thank you," lightly, and then he was never seen wearing it again. I thought that he had already treated me like garbage. He was stuck, his eyes evasive. I smeared inwardly. Look, it turned out to be a lie to me. Just when I was about to turn around and end this farce with a chic back view, he suddenly took my hand. At my house. "You come with me." He pulled me, walked to the door opposite him without any explanation, and entered the password. With a beep sound, the door opened. He pulled me inside. Then, in front of me, the door slammed shut with a bang. Chapter 8. This is my first time stepping into Liu Yubai's home. The decoration style is the same as his cold, simple, black, white, and gray, with almost no unnecessary decoration. The air was filled with the same cedar smell as his body, which was cool and inexplicably reassuring. Before I had time to take a closer look, I was dragged all the way into a room by him. That seemed to be his study. A whole wall of floor-to-ceiling windows is opposite a huge bookshelf filled with various professional books. He let go of me, walked to the bookshelf, and pressed an inconspicuous button. The bookshelf slowly moved to both sides, revealing a hidden storage room behind it. My heart skipped a beat. Liu Yubai walked in, and after a moment, he walked out holding a sealed storage box that was half a person's height. He put the box on the carpet in front of me and opened the lock with a click. The moment the lid of the box was opened, my breathing stopped. The box is full of things I gave him. The blue scarf, which I thought he had thrown away, was neatly stacked on top and wrapped in a dust bag. Under the scarf is the first birthday gift I gave him, a crooked clay cup made by myself. When I was a sophomore in high school, I stayed up 3 nights to knit the gloves for him. The stitching was rough and asymmetrical. It was the pair of cufflinks I bought for him with 3 months of my part-time salary saved when I was in college. Now they are lying quietly in the velvet box, shining with a low-key light. There are also countless cards I wrote, pictures I drew, and even chocolates I bought with my pocket money that I secretly stuffed at his door when I was in junior high school. Each piece was carefully preserved by him, classified into categories, and neatly stacked. Even the chocolate wrapping paper is smooth without a trace of wrinkles. I froze on the spot. My mind went blank. What's going on? Didn't he throw them all away? Didn't you say you poured the porridge? My voice was trembling, almost out of tune. That's the thing that bothers me the most. That morning, I got up at 5 o'clock, simmered the preserved egg and lean meat porridge for 2 hours over low heat, put it in a thermal bucket, and delivered it to his door. As a result, in the afternoon, I saw the familiar thermos bucket next to the trash can downstairs. The porridge inside was untouched. At that time, my heart was broken. Liu Yubai pursed his lips. A trace of unnaturalness flashed across his face. That day, I had acute gastroenteritis, and the doctor didn't allow me to eat. The thermos bucket was accidentally knocked off by Aunt Wang when she was cleaning it. I later picked it up again. He pointed to the corner, where the thermos bucket, which I thought had been abandoned, was standing there quietly, polished to a shine. My nose suddenly felt sore, and a wave of heat rushed to my eyes. So, everything is a misunderstanding? He didn't throw away my things, nor did he dislike me. He just... Then why? I choked and asked, "Why do you always ignore me? Why do you always reject me?" Liu Yubai looked at me, his deep eyes filled with complex and deep emotions that I had never seen before. There is heartache, helplessness, and deep affection that is too strong to be melted away. He knelt down, looked level with me, raised his hand, and gently wiped away the tears from the corners of my eyes with his fingertips. His movements were very light and gentle, with a hint of piety. "Nian Nian." He called me in a low voice with a sigh in his voice. "Because you were really too young at that time. I'm 8 years older than you. When you were still a little girl who needed lollipops to coax, I was already an adult. I'm afraid that your love for me is just a temporary admiration, a child's game of playing house. I'm afraid you'll regret it if I respond. So, I'm waiting for you." His voice was very low and deep, like the strings of a cello, hitting my heart every word. "When you grow up, when you really understand what you want. Waiting for you. Make sure you like Liu Yubai as a person and not as a neighbor brother." I stared at him blankly, listening to his 8-year-late explanation. Tears were like broken beads, falling uncontrollably. It turns out that it's not that I'm not good enough. It's not that he doesn't like me. But he loved too deeply and was too careful. What I thought was unrequited love, what I thought was a one-man show, turned out to be a two-way rush from the beginning. There is just one person who hides his love too deeply. Chapter 9. I cried like a fool. The grievances, unwillingness, and sadness of the past 8 years all turned into a flood that burst the dam at this moment. Liu Yubai took me into his arms a little helplessly and patted my back gently. "Stop crying, Yan Yan. It's my fault." His voice was full of annoyance and distress. I buried my face in his arms, smelling his refreshing scent, and cried harder. "You're just not good. You're a bastard. Big bastard." I cried while beating his chest with a soft force, as if he was acting coquettishly. He let me beat him, motionless, and just held me tighter. "Yes, I'm a bastard." When I had cried enough and gradually calmed down, he held my face and forced me to look at him. No. He looked at my eyes that were red and swollen from crying. His voice was low and serious. Are you still with that man? Only then did I remember my boyfriend, Lindsay. I sniffed and deliberately teased him. You mean Lindsay? We have a good relationship. Lu Yu's white face suddenly turned dark again. He pinched my chin a little harder. Sun Yen. Seeing him looking like he was facing a formidable enemy and about to explode with anger, I finally couldn't help it and burst out laughing. I laughed so hard that I burst into tears. Lu Yubai looked puzzled by my smile and frowned. Why are you laughing? I finally stopped laughing, wiped the tears from my eyes, then took out my phone, opened a WeChat chat box, and handed it to him. At the top of the chat box, it was written, my resentful cousin. Me. Brother, save me. The old fox seems to want to eat me. The resentful cousin. The resentful cousin. A showdown? Success? Me. It's done. Done. He blocked my house. The resentful cousin. Holy shit. Awesome, my sister. Then what else can you save? Follow him quickly. Complaints. By the way, when will my limited edition keyboard arrive? Lu Yubai's gaze went back and forth several times between the words, resentful cousin, and the chat history. The expression on his face ranged from confusion to shock to sudden realization and finally settled on a kind of helplessness where he couldn't laugh or cry. He raised his head and looked at me, his eyes as complex as a palette. Acted? I raised my eyebrows proudly, like a cat that had stolen something. What if? Mr. Lu, you don't really think that just any cat or dog can get into my eyes, Sun Yen, do you? He looked at my triumphant look and was silent for a long time. Then he suddenly laughed softly. When he smiled, his whole person came alive. The frost between the brows and eyes melted instantly, like the surface of a lake on a spring day when the ice and snow first melted. The waves were so beautiful that people couldn't take their eyes away. He reached out and pulled me into his arms again, resting his chin on the top of my head and nuzzling me gently. Su Xiaoyan, you are really... He paused, as if looking for a suitable adjective. My nemesis. I nestled in his warm embrace, listening to his powerful heartbeat, and my heart was filled with sweetness. I thought that here was the perfect ending of my fishing plan. I, Sun Yen, won a great victory. But I didn't expect that the real old fox was not me at all. Just when I was feeling triumphant and ready to enjoy the fruits of victory, Lu Yubai suddenly whispered in my ear. But it was a good performance. It's just that the acting is a bit exaggerated. I was stunned. What do you mean? He let me go, took out his mobile phone from the desk drawer, clicked on a photo album, and handed it to me. The photo album had no name, just a simple heart symbol. I took it in confusion, and when I saw the contents of the album clearly, I was petrified. The photo album is full of photos of me. There was me wearing 2 braids and a floral skirt, chasing butterflies in the community garden. There was me carrying a school bag that was taller than anyone else and going to school with a frown on my face. When I confessed to him for the first time, I was so nervous that my cheeks were red and I couldn't even speak smoothly. There was me wearing a red dress, holding roses, standing downstairs of his company, looking at him stubbornly. From when I was 7 to 24. Every moment of my growth was quietly recorded by his lens. These photos taken from angles looked like candid shots at first glance. I was holding the phone and my hands were shaking. You. I looked up and looked at him in shock, unable to say a word. He looked at me dumbfounded, and the smile on his lips deepened. Do you think you're the only one acting? He reached out and tapped my forehead. Little fool. Hunter, maybe prey. Chapter 10. I was completely confused. My brain, like a computer invaded by a virus, completely shut down. I looked at the more than 1,000 photos on my phone, recording my entire youth. It turns out that what I thought was a secret love and what I thought was a hard pursuit were all just what I thought. It turns out that this man had already included me in his future even before I realized what liking meant. I thought I was the fisherman casting the net. In the end, I realized that I was the fish that willingly dived into the net. And he, the Lu Yubai who I thought was cold, ascetic, and aloof from the world, was actually the old fox who was strategizing, taking step by step, and had already laid a dragnet. I looked at him, my eyes getting hot again. This time I wasn't feeling aggrieved, I was moved. It was a huge ecstasy that almost overwhelmed me. Lu Yubai, my voice was thickly nasal. You are so bad. He chuckled, stretched out his arms to hold me in his arms, and kissed the top of my hair. I can't help it, he sighed, but his tone was full of endearment. Who made this little cabbage in my house so annoying? If I don't take action, I will be beaten by other pigs. I laughed at his bad metaphor and nuzzled into his arms. Then what are you going to do now? I looked up at him. I have a boyfriend. He narrowed his eyes, and the dangerous aura filled the air again. He lowered his head, the tip of his nose touched the tip of my nose, and his voice was low and ambiguous. It's very simple. Turn him into your ex-boyfriend. After saying that, he kissed her again. This kiss is no longer a punishment, no longer a plunder. Rather, it is gentle and lingering, with the treasure that has been lost and found, and the deep love that has been suppressed for 10 years. I closed my eyes, stood on tiptoes, and responded to him enthusiastically. Outside the window, the night is getting dark. Indoors, there is warmth and affection. My 8-year pursuit finally came to a perfect conclusion on this day. Later, the news that Liu Yubai and I were together caused an uproar among the relatives of our two families. My mother and aunt kept asking me what was going on and what should Lindsay do. I pulled Lindsay into the group and asked him to explain himself. Lindsay posted an intimate photo of him and his real girlfriend. Lindsay, let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend. My brother-in-law, please take good care of me in the future. At Lu Daobai. Lu Yu replied in vain. Liu Yubai, easy to say. At Linze. The group was silent for 3 seconds and then completely erupted. And I was nestling in Liu Yubai's arms, watching my relatives on the screen of my mobile phone, laughing so hard that my stomach ached. Liu Yubai took the phone from my hand and put it aside. Stop looking. Look at me. I turned my head and met his affectionate eyes. What are you looking at?